Hello, there are some questions that are commonly asked in relation to any exam. These questions include: how should I prepare for the exam? What sources should I use? How much time is needed for the preparation for the exam? Unfortunately, there is no correct answer to these questions that are applicable to all of us. We are all different in terms of personalities, types of intelligence that we have, levels of experience, our abilities to study in different conditions, the times that we can spend studying, the abilities of our memories, and many other factors. And all of these factors affect the answers to these questions. So, the good answers to these questions differ from person to person. So, if one source of studying is helpful for someone, it may not provide the same benefit to another one. I may be comfortable with studying from one source, and you may be comfortable with studying from another source. And the time needed for someone to prepare for the exam may be much different from the time needed for another one. Also, the good method of preparation differs from one to another. For example, I might have good knowledge and experience. So, what I need is rapid revision and practicing questions using any question bank. But if I do not have sufficient knowledge or experience, then I will need to spend longer time studying from an organized source that explains everything. Also, you may have a good memory that allows you not to spend much time memorizing data, but this may not be the case for me, and I may need to restudy many times to be able to remember data. Again, there is no correct answer for these questions that are applicable to all of us. But fortunately, I can give you some general advice and general answers to these questions. In regards to sources, and since I am talking in the context of the exams of the Royal College of Emergency Medicine, I can say that there are different types of sources. These include textbooks, notebooks, videos, and question banks. You should know that there is no one source that covers everything. Of course, in the exam, you do not need to answer all questions to pass, but in studying you want to use a source that covers as much data as possible. In regards to textbooks or notebooks, if you used a source that is so brief, you will miss much data. And if you used so large source, you may need longer time that may not be available for you. So, you can use one topic to compare different sources and decide which textbook or notebook is helpful for you. Use the source that you feel that you are comfortable with while reading from it, and at the same time it provides good knowledge for you. Again, do ask your colleague, what textbook or notebook should I use? Instead, ask, what are the sources available? And you should decide the source that is good for you. In the context of sources also, it is important to use different types of sources. Of course, you should not depend only on textbooks or notebooks. The exams require you to study using more than one method. You should read from books, listen to and watch videos, and most importantly practice from question banks, or question books, or even question videos. You may ask, how should I start? Textbook or notebook first? Or watching videos first? Or question bank first? Again, this may be different from person to person. For example, if you have sufficient knowledge and experience, you may start with some questions from any source. This will give you an idea about the exam questions and will make you retain more data when you study from other sources. If you do not have sufficient knowledge and experience, you may need to use a more comprehensive source first, then use a question source. You should also have summary sources, in the form of videos, books, or even notes that you make for yourself. This will be very helpful on the days before the exam. You should also make timed plans for yourself. This will decrease tension and you will be able to know your achievement and where you are from studying. There are some strategies to enhance memory. Of course, in the exam, you do not need only to remember information, but also to connect information together and to use reasoning to answer questions. Enhancing memory, connecting information, and reasoning can be done using some strategies that I will talk about them now. The traditional method of trying to memorize any information is repeating the information many times. But actually, when we do so, we usually forget the information after a period of time. So, we need to repeat the process after increasing periods. For example, if I want to memorize the treatment of disease, I read it today, then I reread it after 1 week, then after 2 weeks, then after 1 month, and so on. But there are more effective strategies that enhance memory and information retention and improve the process of reasoning. So, Let me provide the following tips. First, do not try to memorize, but to understand. When we truly learn, we connect previous knowledge to current knowledge, and we build a sort of network of knowledge through our neural network in our brains. It is as if you drew a line between 2 points on a blank paper to connect the dots. When you memorize, you usually do not connect these dots, and the things you should have learned just vanish rapidly. So, when we memorize, we forget, and when we understand, we memorize. So, during studying, try to understand everything. Always is how and why. Second, use pictures and stories. If you can see what you are studying, it is wonderful. But if you cannot, try to imagine. For example, in anatomy, we learn better when we see the parts of the body, not just read about them. But sometimes we cannot see some parts of the body. In this case, we can imagine them, and make diagrams for them. So, try to see. If you cannot, try to imagine and use diagrams and pictures. Also, you can formulate the information in the form of stories. Stories are easy to remember. This is why it is easy for us to remember the details of a disease if we know its pathogenesis. Pathogenesis is like the story of the disease, and if we know the story of the disease, we can remember symptoms, signs, investigations, treatment, and complications easily. Third, use different senses. We learn better when we use multiple senses. We use vision in reading, seeing pictures, and watching videos. We hear information. We say information loudly. We do things physically. We may touch things to learn. We may smell things to learn. For example, if we want to learn the actions of a group muscle better, we can read the actions, then we can say this loudly, then we can watch this in a video, then we can perform the actions using our bodies. We can use this also to memorize the sequence of dermatomes of the body. Fourth, engage more. We learn more when we engage in different forms of activities and active learning strategies. This can be through discussions in groups either in person or online via social media like Facebook and WhatsApp groups. This can be also done through practicing questions for theoretical exams and practicing practical skills for practical exams such as OSCE exams. This can be also through games. Anything that makes you engage more, makes you learn better. Fifth, teach others. One of the most effective ways to learn is teaching others, and explaining difficult parts to others. Try it. If you find yourself cannot remember some information, try to understand the information and explain it to your colleagues. You won't forget it easily. I hope this video is helpful for you and for your exams. Thank you.